Okay, the first thing I'm going to start with is the total costs, total revenue and profit equation. تمام? Once a business starts producing goods and services, this business starts to spend or pay total costs. What is meant by total costs? أي production بنعمله بنحتاج إن احنا نصرف عليه حاجات. There are two types of costs. You have the fixed costs, okay? And the other type is the variable costs. What's meant by the fixed costs? Fixed costs are costs that never change with output. They never change with output. They remain the same. So if your output is low, if your production is low, it remains as it is. If your production is high, it remains as it is. If your production is zero, you still have to pay it. Like for example, rent. Suppose ان انت المكان ده مأجره. You rented this place. You produced zero output this month. You produced nothing this month. تمام؟ تقدر تروح تقول للراجل I'm not going to pay the rent. You have to pay it. صح؟ If you produce more output, more production, you still have to pay the same rent. Okay? تمام? So fixed cost is fixed. No matter how much output you produce. No matter how much quantity you produce. Okay? Another example of fixed cost is interest. Suppose, for example, you took a loan from the bank and you have to return it with interest. هل الانترست ده ليه علاقة بكمية الاوتبوت اللي انت بتعملها؟ It has nothing to do with the output you make. If you produce more output, مش هيجي البنك يقول لك pay me a higher interest. If you produce zero output, are you going to pay nothing? You will still have to pay the interest and you will pay the same amount. Okay? Another example is insurance, for example. Suppose you paid to get an insurance policy to protect مثلا your company against theft, against fire, against whatever. And you have to pay the insurance premium every month. It has nothing to do with your output. عملت production كتير, عملت production قليل, insurance premium will remain the same. Example كمان, salaries. Suppose you're hiring managers. طبعا those managers, they expect to receive salaries. ما هل ينفع ان انا اروح اقول للمانجر مثلا او لاي administrator inside my company مثلا if I produce nothing this month, هل ينفع ان انا اروح اقول له I'm sorry I'm not gonna pay your salary this month? هو ماله. Okay, he receives a salary, and a salary is a fixed amount that an employee receives. Okay, so it has nothing to do with output. Any problems with the fixed costs? Shall I repeat? تمام. طيب, what about variable costs? Variable costs are costs that change with output. If your output is zero, variable cost is zero. If your output or your production increases, you will have to pay more variable costs. زي ايه مثلا? Like for example, yes, cost of raw materials or supplies. Okay. Wages. If you pay your workers per piece or per unit produced, it means that you will have to pay higher wages if your output increases. تمام يا جماعة? Okay? So these are examples of variable costs. Okay? So variable costs change with output. في حاجة بس مهمة. Another name for fixed costs is overheads, because sometimes he gets it in the exam under the name overheads, not fixed costs. Another name is indirect costs. Okay? Another name for variable costs is direct costs. In case you find direct costs, تعرف كده إنه it's variable cost. It's the same as variable cost. It is variable cost, okay? So fixed cost does not change with output. Variable cost changes with output. The more output you produce, the higher the variable cost you're going to pay. Any questions or problems? تمام؟ طيب. So now we have an important equation, which is total costs equals fixed cost plus variable cost. So this is the first equation we have here. This is the first equation you need to memorize. Okay, to draw the break-even chart. Type. Number 2 is another equation, which is total revenue. What is meant by revenue? Revenue is the amount. Yes, the amount of money you receive after selling your product. Like for example, I sold 5 markers for $2 each. 5 multiplied by 2, it makes $10. So this is my revenue. ده مش البروفيت. It's not the profit. Revenue is not profit. Okay, revenue is just the money you're going to receive after selling your products. Okay, so total revenue is price multiplied by quantity sold. This is the second equation you need to remember. تمام كده يا جماعة؟ خلاص؟ عندنا third equation. Profit. Profit is total revenue minus total costs. Profit is total revenue minus total costs. تمام؟ Okay? الحمد لله على السلامة. طيب, total revenue is this one, the one we have just calculated. Total costs is this one. So profit is total revenue after removing the total cost I paid to produce my product. تمام كده يا جماعة? Any questions with these? Any questions concerning the break-even equations? تمام كده? طيب, now we're going to draw the break-even chart. Okay, we're going to do the break-even analysis in order to know the break-even quantity. What is meant by break-even? We're going to explain in the diagram now. تمام? طيب, let's take this example. Suppose, for example, he got you this in the exam. He said that fixed costs is equal to 100. Okay? And variable cost is, مثلا, say, $1.5 per unit. Okay? وجي قال لك إنه مثلا the price is $5. Each product is sold for $5 each. Okay? وجي قال لك إن إحنا بنعمل output 50 units. الاوتبوت بتاعنا 50 units. تمام كده؟ خلاص؟ طيب. He will get you a graph paper أو حتة كده graph في الإكزام in order to plot these lines. Here you put the quantity or the output. Okay? And here, fixed cost. You're going to draw 4 lines here in this diagram. 4 lines. Fixed cost, variable cost, total revenue, and total cost. خلينا total cost first and then total revenue. So there are 4 lines that you need to draw. There are 4 lines that you need to draw. Okay? طيب. The first one you're going to start with is the fixed cost. We have just said in the fixed cost remains fixed no matter how much output you produce. صح؟ ثابتة. It never changes. Even if your output is 0, you still have to pay the fixed cost. زي الرنت والإنشورنس والكلام ده كله. معايا يا ملك؟ طيب. هتيجي هنا, it says here that fixed cost is 100. هتيجي هنا عند ال 100. How will the fixed cost look like? Yes, exactly. It's a straight horizontal line. And don't forget to label the lines. Don't forget to label the lines. Okay? So no matter how much output you produce, your fixed cost remains the same. Okay? Any problems? So now we're done with the fixed cost. خلاص رسمنا كده اللاين بتاع الفixed cost. Okay? Now let's draw the variable cost line. Actually, you don't really need the variable cost line in order to get the break-even quantity. مش محتاجها قوي. But I remember once he asked for it in an exam, in one of the exams. Okay? So it's better to know how to draw it. طيب, into you took in math. Drawing a line graph. What do you need to do? You've already taken this in math. You need to plot 2 points and connect them. صح? If you want to draw a straight line, in math you need to plot 2 points and connect them. تمام؟ طيب now let's plot 2 points. احنا كده for the fixed cost you don't need to plot 2 points لان خلاص انت عارف ان انت at the 100 here you just draw a straight horizontal line and that's it. For the variable cost you need to plot 2 points. The easiest point that we always choose is the 0 one. خلاص يبقى the easiest point is the 0 quantity first. What's the variable cost at 0 quantity? 0, exactly. خلاص يبقى احنا كده خلصنا من point. We're done with this point. Now let's draw the other variable cost point. Let's choose 50 units. طيب variable cost at 50 units equals, how much is the variable cost per unit? 1.5. 1.5 multiplied by the 50 units that the company makes. So this is, okay, 75. أكيد. So it's $75. هتيجي عند ال 50 هنا الكوانتيتي ب 50 اوكي وهتطلع عند ال 75 مثلا let's say it's here and you connect the 2 points. So this is the variable cost line. Any questions? Okay, now we need to plot 2 more points in order to draw the total cost line. So we're done with this and now we need to draw the total cost. حد عنده مشكلة في variable cost؟ تمام كده؟ Okay, it's the basics of math. تمام؟ طيب, now total cost. We have the equation for total cost which is total cost equals fixed cost plus variable cost. برضو, let's take the easiest point. 0 quantity. Total cost at 0 quantity أو 0 units. Fixed cost عند الزيرو بكام؟ 100. برافو. Variable cost عند الزيرو بكام؟ 0. Yes. So it's $100. So at 0 quantity, your total cost is $100. بص بقى, you don't need to calculate it again. خلاص انت تحفظ كده وتبقى عارف ان total cost never begins from here. It starts from the fixed cost. لان احنا قلنا ان no matter how much output you produce, you still have to pay the fixed cost. Your variable cost is 0, but fixed cost is there. Any problems? طيب, now let's take the second point. We need to plot the second point to draw the total cost. Total cost at 50 units. How much is the fixed cost at 50 units?
175.
How much is the fixed cost? لا, أنا عايزة fixed cost بس. 100 برضو. So fixed cost at 50 units is 100. What's the variable cost at 50 units? احنا حسبناها قبل كده. 75. So أحمد عصام, yes, it's $175. So at $50, at 50 units, okay, the total output the total cost you have to pay is $175. خلينا تحت كده شوية. $175. So you're going to connect the 2 points and this gives you the total cost. So we're done with the fixed cost, variable cost and total cost. Any problems? Any questions? حسين معنا؟ تمام؟ طيب. The last thing you need to draw here is the total revenue. Okay? Refresh your memory كده عشان هتحلوا عليها دلوقتي. طيب. الناس اللي أخذت economics أخذتها في economics افتكروها عشان هنحل. وخدوا بالكم business you have to draw it. It's not like economics. It doesn't come in multiple choice questions أو كده. It comes في graph and you have to draw it. طيب بالنسبة للtotal revenue, the last thing we need to draw. Total revenue at 0 بكام? If I sell no output, I sell nothing. 0 total revenue. فالtotal revenue بيبتدي برضو من الأوريجين. طيب total revenue at 50 units يعمل كام؟ It's price multiplied by quantity. What's my price here? $5 per unit. At 50 units multiplied by 50, so this makes 250. 250. هتيجي عند ال 50 units وتطلع كده عند ال 250. Okay, let's يعني هنعتبر ان دي كده 250. طبعا انا بألف بس ما فيش مشكلة. Then you're going to connect the 2 points. So this is the total revenue. So now we drew 4 lines. 4 lines. Okay? One for the fixed cost, one for the variable cost, one for the total cost, and one for the total revenue. تمام؟ طيب. ايه لازمة الكلام ده كله بقى؟ Yes, to get the break even. What's meant by break even? Let's take a look at this. أنا اللي يهمني قوي دي ودي. Now forget about everything else. This is what I care for. Total cost and total revenue. Total costs and total revenue. This is what I care for now. Now let's look at the point of intersection. Let's look at the point of intersection between total revenue and total cost. سيبك من أي حاجة تانية دلوقتي. خلاص؟ طيب. At this point of intersection, we call this point the break-even point. What's meant by break-even? Let's look at this part. اللي قبل البوينت, this part before the point of intersection. Which one is higher than the other? What's this line? Is this the total cost or the total revenue? It's the total cost. Which one is this? Is this the total cost or the total revenue? This is the total revenue. Which one is higher than the other? Total cost is higher than total revenue. If you start a new business, you will not make profit from the first day. It never happens. You will keep covering the previous costs or the costs that you had to pay in order to build your business في الأول. So you will never make profit كده once you open your business and once you start your business. عمرها ما بتحصل. You will keep covering the cost of production. You will keep making losses for a period of time because your total cost is still higher than the total revenue. Total revenue is not enough to cover the total cost that you paid. لسه في الأول بيبقى لسه كده. Okay? طيب. Once you reach this point of intersection, now you will be happy. So you will keep selling this quantity, but you're still making a loss. Once you reach this amount, and we call this amount the break-even output, or the break-even quantity. Which one is higher than the other here at this point? Total revenue or total cost? They're both equal, yes. So total revenue is equal to total cost at this point. You're neither making a profit nor a loss. لا profit ولا loss عند البوينت دي. انت يا دوبك بتبتدي بقى. You're starting a new phase. You're starting to make profit now. بصلي على السايد ده. What's this line? Total revenue. What's this line? Total cost. Which one is higher than the other? Total revenue is higher than total cost, so now you're making profit. Now you're a happy businessman. Now you're starting to make profit. Got it? So it's important to do the break-even analysis in order to know your break-even output when you're going to start to make profit. تمام يا جماعة؟ طيب بصيلي على البورد هنا. You can get the break-even output from the graph. Okay? And there is an equation for the break-even output. You don't always need the equation. بس هي الفكرة إن أنت you might use the equation just to make sure that this amount is correct. What's this equation for break-even? The break-even equation is equal to fixed cost divided by price per unit minus variable cost per unit. تعالوا نعملها كده بالequation. Break-even equals إحنا what's the fixed cost? 100. What's the price per unit? 5. What's the variable cost per unit? 1.5. يبقى كده our break-even quantity is حد يحسبها لنا كده please. مش مشكلة rounded كم؟ 38.28. Okay, so let's say it's 29 مثلا, 29 units. So at 29 units, this number is supposed to be 29. Okay? You do the equation, or you use the equation to calculate the break even just to make sure that your result is correct. خلاص? Okay يا جماعة? So at 29 units, you will break even, and after the 29, you will start to make profit. طيب, one last thing. There is something called the margin of safety. What's meant by the margin of safety? عندك هنا هو قال لك إنه the company is already producing 50 units, صح? And he said that this company was able to break even at 29 units. What's the margin of safety, يا ملك? The margin of safety is the difference between the quantity you're already producing, which is this, and the break-even quantity, which is this. So the margin of safety is 50 units minus 29. So this makes, okay, 21? Okay, 21 units. Why did they call it the margin of safety? It's called the margin of safety لأنها بتقولك how many units you can decrease and you're still in the safe side, you're still in the profit side. Got it يا جماعة? Any problems with the break-even? Now you can start solving problems. Ready? Yalla, let's go for the classifieds.